morning. Editor Adrian here. I just wanted to communicate that there won't be a video tomorrow. I know, we're going to break the streak. Look at this incredible streak that we've been on. Every single play button is a video. So we've been doing a great job, but it just, it's Father's Day today, so there's some family events that I need to go to. And also the fact that there's just 2 matches today. Italy already going through. I guess Wales, there could be some questions whether something happens with them. And then Switzerland versus Turkey, still all to play for there. I figured I may as well just save those matches and group them together with the matches from Monday. So Monday is going to be a big video to put together to publish on Tuesday. So yes, no video on Monday, but Tuesday, big video. And then we'll have a watch along on Wednesday as well. And then plenty of content, to wrap up the group stage and look forward to the round of 16. Okay? Editor Adrian, out. Hello there, welcome back to Euro Daily as the second round of matches have come to a close. It's all to play for in most groups, but before we talk about that kind of stuff, let's go over yesterday's, I do that every single time, yesterday's action, shall we? Wow, what a match. Hungary came out flying against the French and put a marker down early as far as energy levels and sending a message to France, which was, we won't make this easy for you, as both Kante and Pavard were clattered within seconds of each other by Hungarians. And they continued to be relentless in the early exchanges, putting pressure around the French box. France eventually found their feet though, as expected, with Lucadinho, who replaced Hernandez, putting a beautiful cross on a plate for Mbappe, but he headed wide. Later, Mbappe turned provider to Benzema, who had Goulashi at his mercy, but he smacked it wide. In total, in the first half, France's expected goals was 0.95. Their finishing was a bit wayward, to say the least. But Hungary all along kept on pressuring them, biding their time and trying to attack quickly in transition. For the most part, they were contained, but on the stroke of halftime, Attila Fiola was played through by the brilliant Shalai, exploiting that space between Varane and Pavard, and Fiola made no mistake and absolutely startled the pitchside reporter. What a moment, man. And the Sunburn Brigade was in full voice. International tournaments truly are incredible. The fullbacks were an area of the pitch that Jonathan Johnson highlighted as an area that opponents could potentially exploit, and the Hungarians absolutely did that in my opinion, mostly focusing on the French right flank of Pavard. That's where they found a lot of joy. In the second half, France got a bizarre equalizer, not one that you would expect from them, as Lloris pumped the ball forward, and strangely, the 2 Hungarian centre-backs were both unwilling to take it on, thus allowing the ball to bounce, which is no, one of the first things you learn not to do. You never let the ball bounce, and they ultimately paid for it. Mbappe, with a little footwork, squared the ball, which was deflected, and Griezmann tapped it in. Fight as they might, France just couldn't find a winner. Varane with the final opportunity of the match, seeing his header go wide. And that was that. An incredible show of fight from Hungary. France looking quite off at times, frustrated, and that's a credit to Hungary. They aren't as blessed technically, but with 65,000 fans behind them, their energy levels were incredible. That set up the Portugal versus Germany match quite nicely. So, Portugal versus Germany. Would we get to witness Portugal defeat Germany for the first time since 2000? No. Would this be a great match for neutrals and Germans? Absolutely. Did Germany have a great game? Yes, they really did. They executed their game plan, and Portugal never changed their approach when it was so clear that they were suffering. Yes, we saw Santos go with William and Danilo again, and yes, we saw Santos have to backtrack on that in the second half because it wasn't working again, only to bring on Renato to have a great appearance again. And a ton of credit has to go to Germany for realizing that Semedo would be a liability at the back for Portugal and exploiting that over and over via Robin Gosens. How did they do it though? Well, with the wingbacks getting so far up the pitch, the German ones that is, they would overload the right-hand side and then play a quick ball to the left to Gosens in acres of space. Sometimes they would do that in the opposite direction as well. And I don't know what the game plan was from Santos in order to contain the Germans. The Germans, like I said, they executed extremely well and they took advantage of not only the left flank, but the fact that Portugal didn't have a plan to combat what was killing them over and over and over. If you keep on getting joy and just doing that massive switch to the flanks, why wouldn't you just keep doing it? Kimmich and Gosens, who were fantastic roving up and down the flanks. But Portugal, They should have dealt with it. If you're going to play a double pivot, then one of your central defenders can split the center back so that there's more coverage on the wings. Bernardo Silva, he could have tracked back, and that's likely why he was yanked at halftime. That's another crime that Rafa committed later on, the not tracking back thing. Or at least not effectively in Rafa's case. I mean, I was saying during the live stream that it was the easiest match of Gosens' life, and I understand that that sounds like I'm discounting his performance, which is not at all what I want to do. When called upon, he was nearly perfect. The 2 balls played across the box by him, leading to 2 goals, one of which being a first-time volley. Whew. The other, a calm finish from Havertz later on. Kimmich also had a say as his cutback was turned in by Guerreiro, 2 own goals in 4 minutes. That's bad, and it turned the match on its head. Because previously, Portugal were actually ahead thanks to a stunning counterattack. Early doors, the way in behind the German defense was exposed. Play it into the space between Kimmich and Ginter with the diagonal ball, and you will get at them. It worked over and over. But once the Germans had wised up to their deficiency, Portugal had it. Throughout this match, Robin Gosens was left with acres of space over and over and over, while Santos left an ineffectual William on the pitch and took Bernardo off, likely hoping Renato would track back, and later the same for Rafa, who didn't get goal side of Gosens and left him with a free header to make it 4 for Germany. But you also have to give a lot of credit to the smart runs by Havertz and Muller. Their movement was amazing. They clearly knew that Semedo would be the liability, as I had said, and I'm driving home to you now. And both of the attackers would make runs to the same side. Portugal's pivot of Danilo and William following in that general direction, dragging our entire backline over and leaving Gosens wide open. Or look at what my man Dave sent me to further this point. What on earth were Danilo and William doing out there at times? Just horrendous stuff to watch. Sometimes they were just jogging back instead of hustling as well, which when the Germans are jetting around the pitch to get into position to kill you, that really doesn't help your team. The fact that it wasn't addressed, the fact that there wasn't a plan B, the fact that Portugal's manager didn't know how to address this problem, didn't know how to react to it, is extremely worrying. On the flip side, credit has to be given to Joachim Löw. This is a German side that so many had written off. I mean, I had them going through in 3rd, however, but they will likely win the group now, so long as Hungary don't pull something out of their cap. But to score goals against a typically strong defensive unit, though an out of sorts and disorganized defensive unit, it's pretty impressive. There was a bit of pressure at times, but nothing the back line couldn't handle in Germany's case. Maybe if Renato's thunderbolt that went off of the post had found the back of the net, there would have been a scary finish for them. But ultimately, Löw will have seen how nonchalant Portugal's midfielders and fullbacks are, and he exploited it. Simple as that. So this group is wide open, isn't it? France on 4 points, Germany and Portugal on 3, and Hungary on 1. Germany play Hungary next, while France and Portugal face off. Hey, what a final day that will be. Next Wednesday, by the way. Or this coming Wednesday, I should say. Now, of course, coming into this, the question of whether Enrique would start Morata or drop him. Morata, who has been contributing so much off of the ball and in the link-up with his teammates, but with some truly shocking finishing, as per the custom since he moved to Chelsea, really. But Enrique was steadfast in saying that Spain would line up with Morata and 10 others, one of which turning out to be Gerard Moreno, thankfully, as his presence was needed against Sweden. He came on late, of course, but it could have been useful earlier on against Sweden, that is. Poland were without Krychowiak, of course, but their midfield still looked decent in this match, and they would find some success on the counter now and then, as Spain, as they did against Sweden, were moving the ball around quite well, but they weren't doing much with it, were they? Poland, to their credit, were providing Spain with much more to think about than Sweden did. They pressed way better, and they would break out in the attack with pace. But eventually it happened. Both Morata and Moreno paying back Enrique as Moreno's work on the edge of the box led to a ball through the box that Morata tapped in. It looked like the classic VAR theft would happen to Morata, but the goal stood this time. Hard to say if it was a mishit shot by Moreno or not, but it found its way to Morata regardless, and Moreno will never admit that it wasn't on purpose, will he? Then we saw Morata going to thank his manager for, having that faith in him. Poland definitely had room to feel unlucky in that first half. There was, of course, the penalty shout that they had that wasn't called back for the referee to look at. It was something on Piotr Zielinski. And then there was Swiderski having his shot hit the post and Lewandowski's rebound saved by Unai Simon from point blank. In the second half, again, Poland were far more expansive than Sweden. Spain doesn't allow their opponents to have much of the ball, typical of them, but when they got on the ball, they really attempted to go forward, and the Spanish defense showed their belly a little bit at times. On one occasion in particular, the outcome was a ball into the box that Lewandowski rose highest to in order to direct past Simon for the equalizer, 1-1 there. But it all came crashing down moments later, a penalty given away for a late stomp on Moreno, and referee Orsato awarded the kick after a quick review on the monitor. An unfortunate one, of course, but thankfully for the Poles, Moreno hit the penalty off of the post, and yes, Morata missed the rebound. That doesn't do much to help his reputation, does it? Poland again were hustling all over the pitch following that, pressing the Spanish very high, not allowing their slow passing game to hold Poland in their own end for a sustained amount of time. And yet, Enrique brings on a guy like Sarabia and leaves Thiago on the bench, which is just baffling to me. There was a heroic save from Szczesny as the ball came through the 18, and with Morata looking to finish, Szczesny cut the angle down brilliantly to deny Morata, using his head no less. He doesn't always shine brightest, but Szczesny certainly has some saves in him now and then, doesn't he? I think it's fair to question Luis Enrique here, as for me he really didn't get his choices correct in the second half. I would have liked to have seen Thiago out there as the midfield became completely ineffectual, and the intro of Sarabia was definitely a confusing one. I'll say it again. I mean, Sarabia making the squad in general, when a guy like Iago Aspas is not, that's crazy. But that was it really. Oh, and a shout out to Kasper Kozlowski, who became the youngest player to ever feature in a European Championship match, as he is 109 days younger than Jude Bellingham. So this group truly has some sorting to do. Sweden are in first with 4 points, Slovakia on 3 points, Spain on 2, and Poland on 1. Slovakia plays Spain, and Sweden play Poland. So how will the final match days play out? It should be a fun 4 days. Thanks as always for watching this, and thanks to everyone who joined us for the watch along and took part in our Fan Clash competition. Shout out to Mo Hesham once again for killing it and winning some money as well. Congrats to you, man. Anyways, guys, appreciate you watching. Take care.